moment I realized my marriage was over wasn't when I found the texts. It wasn't when my wife asked for space. And it wasn't even when I saw her holding another man's hand. It was when she looked me straight in the eye and said, "You need to respect my boundaries." Meanwhile, she was spending every free minute with someone else. My name is Ryan. I'm 36, and until last year, I thought I had a pretty normal life. My wife, Emily, and I had been married for 9 years. We owned a house in the suburbs outside Denver, had 2 dogs, decent careers, and what I thought was a stable relationship. Were we perfect? No. Life had become routine. Work, dinner, Netflix, sleep. The same cycle over and over. Still, I never imagined she was unhappy enough to destroy everything we'd built. It started with small changes. Emily suddenly became obsessed with finding herself. She began listening to relationship podcasts, reading self-help books, and talking constantly about personal growth. At first, I supported her. Everyone goes through phases. Then she started spending more time away from home. Coffee shops, weekend hikes, yoga classes, girls' nights. Every week there seemed to be a new reason she couldn't be home. One night while we were eating dinner, she put down her fork and sighed. "I think I need some space." I laughed nervously. "What does that mean?" "It just means I need time to focus on myself." Those words hit me harder than I expected. When your spouse says they need space, you know something isn't right. But I didn't argue. I thought giving her room would help. Instead, it made things worse. Over the next month, she became emotionally unavailable. She barely talked to me. She slept facing the other side of the bed. She guarded her phone like it contained government secrets. Every conversation felt forced. One Friday, she told me she was spending the weekend at a wellness retreat with friends. I kissed her goodbye and watched her leave. Something felt off. I couldn't explain it. Just a gut feeling. The next afternoon, I was meeting a client downtown when I saw a familiar SUV parked outside a restaurant. Emily's SUV. At first, I assumed she must have forgotten something and come back early. Then I saw her. She stepped out of the passenger seat, not the driver's seat, the passenger seat, and the man behind the wheel wasn't someone I recognized. My stomach dropped. I sat frozen in my truck as they walked inside together, laughing, smiling, looking happier than I'd seen her in months. I wanted to storm in, demand answers, create a scene. Instead, I drove away. For the next week, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that moment in my head. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe I was overreacting. Then another piece of the puzzle appeared. A mutual friend accidentally mentioned a guy named Jason. Apparently, Emily talked about him constantly. I'd never heard the name before. When I asked who he was, my friend looked uncomfortable. That reaction told me everything. I started paying attention. Emily would disappear for hours. Her location sharing suddenly stopped working. She smiled at texts she'd never let me see. The evidence kept piling up. Then one evening, she sat me down. "We need to talk." Every married person knows those words. She claimed she felt disconnected. Claimed she'd been unhappy for years. Claimed she needed a temporary separation. The strange part? She acted like this decision had already been made. Like my opinion didn't matter. So I agreed. I moved into a small apartment across town. For weeks, I blamed myself. Maybe I'd worked too much. Maybe I'd stopped putting effort into the relationship. Maybe this really was my fault. Then one night, everything changed. A friend sent me a photo. No message, no explanation, just a photo. Emily and Jason at a concert, wrapped around each other, kissing. 3 weeks after our separation started, 3 weeks. That was all it took. Suddenly every lie made sense. The retreats, the girls' nights, the emotional distance. There was never any space. She didn't need space from everyone. She needed space from me, because someone else was already occupying it. The next morning, I hired an attorney. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted the truth. What we discovered was shocking. Their relationship hadn't started after the separation. It had started nearly 8 months earlier. while we were still living together, while she was telling me she loved me, while I was planning vacations and discussing our future. She was building a different future with someone else. The divorce process was brutal. Emily expected me to remain cooperative, expected me to prioritize her comfort, expected me to quietly accept everything. Instead, I provided evidence, timelines, financial records, messages, facts. No screaming, no public drama, just the truth. Funny thing,